Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is where my guest and I pick a film from my obscenely long, obnoxious watch list that could be basically anything. And this time, we're heading off to Vegas, and joining me for this thrill ride of celebrities and random musical numbers, it's Chris Roberts.
Hey, thanks for having me back again. Surprisingly.
Abs- Well, Chris has become basically a friend of the show and comes on every couple of months. So, Chris, where can people find you and all of your great work?
You can always find me here, it seems, every other month, or you can find me
Yeah,
every other week over at Movie Smash, where we discuss other types of movies based on comics or graphic novels. So, yeah, if you love my takes on movies, you'll find me there, like I said, every other week and here every other month.
honestly, Chris is not wrong there. Do the math basically is. So, there we go. But we are indeed talking. Last time was a deeper, more very thought provoking, rich LA noir. This time we're going to Vegas, and it's Meet Me in Las Vegas. I can't say this movie has a lot of depth, but we'll certainly talk about it. This was released March 9th, 1956. To the day we're recording this this podcast, which is actually really interesting. So happy, oh my God, that's 70th
That's 70
anniversary.
years.
That was special. This worked out nicely. Happy 70 years to Meet Me in Las Vegas. The runtime is 112 minutes. We'll talk about that because this did not need to be 112 minutes.
Yeah, I've got some comments about that runtime.
Yep. This made $3,714,000 on a $2,495,000 budget. I want to know how much of that budget was Frank Sinatra and all the other celebrities that got to pop up in this movie. Directed by Roy Roland, filmed in Eastman Color and Cinescope. So, well, it might not be the deepest movie, but they went all out making this look pretty. This was specifically tailored to Sid Therese and her skills in modern and classical ballet, and nobody's surprised learning that because honestly, this movie does just feel like an excuse to have somebody dance and do musical numbers. So, this was actually largely shot in Las Vegas, so at least they made use of that. And I realizing why this was on my watch list is this is nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Score for Georgie Stahl and Johnny Green. And I guess if anything, it is the music and the dancing that do get you into this movie. So
It
that
wasn't the plot.
was not the plot. But what is the plot? We have Dan Daly and Sid Charisse here in 1950s Las Vegas, a gambling rancher and a ballerina discover that some people have luck at cards while others have luck at love. Yes, we have a movie about a gambling rancher falling in love with a ballerina. Match made in heaven. But Chris, what are your general thoughts on Meet Me in Las Vegas?
So I gotta say that matchup sounds like someone had a Scrabble bag of careers and pulled out two options. So we're gonna make a movie about a gambling rancher. Now look, a ballerina. Let's see if we can make this thing work. It's how do I put this? It feels like it wants to be a musical, but doesn't quite get there. Like I watched this, I had her get off Amazon Prime, and my wife was in the other room working, and I told her, "Hey, I'm about to go watch a musical." And I'd say about three quarters of the way through, and she said, I haven't heard too many songs. And it's a fair take, right?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, she's not watching it. She doesn't see how whimsical it is or see all the excuses they're having for when they actually do a song and dance. But she's right. It's what you traditionally think of as a musical. It was not that. It's not Singing in
No,
the Rain.
no.
It's more like we have a movie that has singing and dancing in it. Because I think there was only maybe one song and dance number that felt out of place from the scene and the scene at the time. And that was the barbecue. We can get into that later if you want to.
Yeah.
But it was probably the only musical number that felt out of place.
Yeah, because the rest of these, it's just like they're in Vegas and somebody's performing. So, like, it's the
Yeah.
same kind of idea, like if you called Bohemian Rhapsody a musical or something like that, where it's just like, this is a band playing music. It's a musical, right? I'm like, really? But like, it's just a bunch of performances. And I'm pretty sure they just wanted to leverage all the famous people that they could get out of this. do musical or dance numbers. And you know what? They're fun, they're energetic. I imagine these are the types of things that you would have seen if you paid money in Vegas at the time to go watch performances. It certainly is vibrant. They really lean into like the crazy bright colors and rich, like this looks like a 50s, 60s movie with all that like pastels and bright colors and stuff like that. But it also really feels like it's not like one of those types of movies. Like this isn't particularly dynamic in its camera work. It's just it's bright, it's beautiful. Let's put on a show. And there could have been less time in between all those musical numbers because honestly, this was a drag, an hour and 52 minutes.
I felt that the review must have been paid by the minute because there were times where you're like, okay, we got that scene, we can move on now. I agree with you. I think the production value of this movie for its time was very good.
Yes.
It was like beautifully shot. Camera angles are great. Especially in the intro when we're following the gambler around.
Mm,
It was obviously a wide open set that they're doing this on. Like I said, they threw it a few $1 million at that time. That's a lot of money, and it made
yeah.
money. So
Mhm.
maybe it was only playing in the theaters that weekend. I don't know, but it made a lot of money on its opening weekend. So my initial thoughts on it are the production value top notch. Plot wise, it's your standard musical, standard two people who are not quite enemies, but they don't like each other. Will they? Won't they? And all of a sudden they do, and then something gets thrown. And now they're in love, and all of a sudden something gets thrown into the mix. Now they're not in love, and they got to get back together because at the end of the day, love is the true meaning of life.
And it all started because good luck charm to a gambler. And that's the thing, like Dan Daly isn't like your big time leading man of the time. He's not like big movie star kind of energy, but he kind of seems like he could be a rancher. And could be a gambler, to be perfectly honest. And Sid Charisse, it's like he is exactly what I feel like she probably is. She is a dancer, she's a performer, and you get that vibe.
She
And
played herself.
exactly. And they made this specifically for her. So I'm assuming that was the whole idea. Was like, hey, we're gonna make this vehicle for you. Like, keep this nice and simple. It's gonna be you. You're playing yourself, and just go with it. And like you mentioned, it has the he becomes infatuated because she's a good luck charm. Whenever she's there, he wins money. And then another woman enters the chat, and you're just like, is this going to mess things up? But then they're all super happy. He goes home, strikes oil easier than the Clampets in Beverly Hillbillies because she just shows up and magically oil. And then at the end, it's just like, oh, maybe our luck isn't as strong as it is. Maybe we shouldn't define our love and our relationship based off of if you make me win money. And at
That's
the end,
my
it's like, no.
marriage.
It's like, no. At the end, it's just like, hey, we actually kind of like each other. Boom. That's a movie. I'm like, that sure was a movie. And
And it,
it's,
it is interesting.
it's
The
an
sort of the lesson
interesting
they're
movie.
trying to teach you is that you might be lucky in gambling, but the moment you have love in your life, you're not lucky at gambling anymore. Now you're lucky in love. You can only be lucky in one thing. You get one category. That is it. Nothing more.
And I like how by the end, they're like, we're going to spend half the time on the ranch, half the time in Vegas, but I'm not gambling anymore. I'm like, man, you probably shouldn't have in the first place. As somebody who teaches probability and statistics to college students, there's two types of mathematicians. There's those who think that they know the math so well they can beat the odds and make money, my friend Steve, and those who know the numbers too well and realize you shouldn't be playing these games. And that's me. Except my mother doesn't listen to me because she always wins. She for some reason she always wins on her scratch offs. She went to Atlantic City, won $10,000 on a slot machine. I'm like, this woman's never gonna listen to me, no matter how many times I tell her, don't waste your money on gambling. Moral of the story, kids, is sometimes some people can get lucky, but on average, you are not gonna get lucky.
Well,
Don't gamble.
let's talk about him as a gambler. He comes off when he's first introduced to us. It's obvious he's a whale. Like he's a guy who gambles a lot, but he's
Yep.
always super happy. So he's not like that desperate gambler who's down on his luck. Later, we find out it's what he does. He takes the profits from his ranch and
Yeah.
gambles those away. So he doesn't. So he's like a responsible addict. Like he's not ruining his. He's not leveraging the ranch. He's also not
No.
getting away his livelihood. He's just taking the excess and throwing it away to Vegas. And so he's a responsible. That's why I guess it makes so the relationship's okay that he has this addiction, but he knows how to control it and master it.
Apparently. It's I respect that he plays responsibly with house money. So like he's not going in there betting his ranch on the line and stuff like that. But two thoughts. One, not the same scale, but he sounds like my grandparents who used to take $20 to the showboat in Atlantic City. And if no matter what, game over after $20 were gone. So at least they're doing it responsibly, like the senior citizens that go down to Atlantic City. Um, the other thought is one way you could look at this as a responsible gambler, but is this money laundering?
Maybe it's I mean that's part of it. He gets a lot of free stuff.
I'm like, this sounds like a plot that the mafia would come up with in Vegas to launder their money is they gamble away the profits into their casinos and then that launders the money, cleans it. I'm just like, um, I am guessing that maybe a mobster or two came up with a few ideas after watching this movie, just saying.
And also, yeah, what kind of ranch does he have? Like
Yeah.
we only see the one oil well, which is kind of strange. And we hear about a
Which
pregnant cow, but that's about it.
like what kind of beef do you got there? Might be owned by a few Italian families off on the East Coast
Though they
or
do
in
make an
Kansas
Italian
City.
joke. They do make an Italian joke.
I
My
did.
mother was no, not you, but he said was it my mother dresses like an Italian boy, has a haircut of an Italian boy, and then the who is it? The dealer goes, but she's not a boy or Italian. He goes, you tell that to her. Like it's just some of the jokes in this movie are so dated.
So dated.
They're
It's so funny
fantastic.
because I watched another movie this morning, Only the Lonely, which is a Chris Columbus, John Hughes, John Candy movie. And his mother, Maureen O'Hara, is an old Irish woman who hates Italians, doesn't trust them. And I heard quite a few slurs being thrown around. And I'm just like, well, that movie's from 1991. Like, it wasn't that long ago. I'm like, that's when I was born. It's just like Italian people. Yes, I have a sinking feeling stuff's going on in Kansas City area regarding these casinos. Not related to the mafia. I didn't watch Scorsese's Casino and automatically think of this. So honestly, this is a cotton candy type movie. Like this is
Oh
all
yeah.
air and fluff and style and yeah. And if you want a nostalgic trip back to the 1950s, the vibrant colors, the music artists that were popular at the time with the big bands, the crooners, the singers like that, want a little bit of Sammy Davis Jr. piped in there. Not actually here. That probably would have cost them, would have bumped the budget up to like $3 million instead. But like they have some famous people here, and I feel like that's the charm of it. Like, I swear, if I sat down and watched this with my mom, she would have enjoyed the hell out of this. So
Speaking of money, real fast, did you catch how much they're paying that ballerina per week to be there?
how much was it?
$30,000. The reason I bring that up, that's a lot of money today per week. That's
I
a
take
ton of money in in that time period. $30,000 a week for 2 weeks worth that when she works 2 weeks, and they have an option to get her for a third week, and she does it 6 months a year. And that was a sacrifice to do it 6 months a year. And she was complaining.
let's see, $30,000.
You know the
Nine,
inflation rate for this?
yep, 1956. She was getting paid $345,000 a week.
And it just her and her mother, I guess, or whoever that the other ballerina was, the ex ballerina. Like
This
she's
is
got to pay
like
her staff, she's got to pay her manager, but still, that's a lot of money per week
this
for
is
two
like
to 3 weeks of the work.
end of Bruce Willie, end of Bruce Willis's career when
Mhm.
like he showed up for like $2-3 million for like 4 days of shooting for Expendables 2. Like, come on, man. It's crazy amount of money. That's like
Crazy.
Marlon Brando money.
And on
Like,
Superman 1,
yeah, exactly. Well, good for her. I wonder how much she got paid for the movie,
nowhere
honestly.
near that.
Probably not. Oh man. I want to know how much Elvis was making.
I don't know. When they said that the first time, I had to stop and be like, "No, that's not right." And they say it again. They say it at least 2 times in the movie. It's like that's a lot of money now for a single person, for an actor, a ballerina.
I will
Now
go
you're
out
for
there.
your by the way, for your ballerina listeners who are screaming at their phone, or as they're for a walk, listening, saying that's not true. We all make 100K a week. Let me know, because I would be thoroughly surprised if 30,000 was not a lot of money for a ballerina.
I'll work on it. I'll get limber. I'll go out to Vegas. I'll
I will
dance my heart out for you.
I will change my careers and ruin my toes.
Let's do it. I guess Chris, do you have any other like thoughts that you want to throw out there about the film?
Well, it's long. There were several times where I thought it should be over, and it's the like the musical numbers are good musical numbers. I'm not a musical kind of guy,
Yeah.
so I can appreciate the quality, but somehow I wasn't really engaged with it. So that made it feel even longer than it was. And those musical numbers kept going. Like there's the scene where she does her big performance,
Yeah.
and it's like it was amusing how they incorporated it. It's like a bar fight, and there's shooting a gun about one too many times, and
Mhm.
there's other scenes too where like these music numbers just keep going on and on and on. But the whole will they won't they sort of plot, I feel like I got it in the sense of like I don't need more of it. In the sense of like they could have stopped at any point. It's like, hey, well, you got the message. They're gonna get together, but they just kept dragging it out. It felt like like 6 seasons of Friends about Rachel and Ross. Like, come on.
They were on a break.
They run a break exactly.
I needed a break. No, there was one or two too many layers in this love story here that could have easily been cut out and heightened this film up for sure. But if you have 2 hours to spend and you want to be transported back to this time and have some fun with the vibes and everything, go for it. That's what you got. So, but I don't feel like I have much else to say. This really just feels like this was a film of its time. And certainly if you feel nostalgic for like 50s music and old Vegas kind of style, watch this or Ocean's 11, the original one. Where it's just the Rat Pack hanging out for 2 hours, which also felt very, very long because there was also barely any plot with that one either. That's just a Vegas movie thing, from the 50s and 60s, apparently.
I agree, and it's there's nothing wrong with the film. It's cotton candy, as you said. There's nothing wrong like screaming at like why am I doing this to myself? It's not torture.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to it that I would say to you, hey, go out of your way to go find it. I do have a question for you though. Like maybe you might know the answer to this. I was searching for this movie to find a place to look for it, and there are so many meet me in inner city name here movies. I was like, is this part of a series? Is this like the third of like 12 of these things? Because there's like meet me in Oklahoma, meet me in Texas, meet me at your
Meet Me in
mom's
St.
house.
Meet Me in St. Louis is like the one. Like that is the most famous one with Judy Garland and uh Vicente Minnelli directed, who she wound up having a child with. Um Liza. But like Meet Me in St. Louis is like the big one. And yes, I'm like, how many more letters do I have to type into my Amazon here for me to find this movie? That's all. And because the search on Amazon is terrible.
Yes.
So, if you know it's a common name or at least start of a common name, if you have to keep typing in so many things that it takes forever to figure it out.
And not only that, it wasn't one of the first ones that popped up. And there were other movies that don't have the phrase "meet me in," which means that in some other country that is a better title. And I did find out that this movie did go under a different title in Europe,
Interesting.
in the Viva Las Vegas, which made for a big problem for the later movie with Elvis because they couldn't release under that
I'm like,
name later on.
wait a minute. I'm like, that's an Elvis movie. Which probably
And they had to change the Elvis movie name in England, in the UK as well, in Europe, because they already
they
had
probably
this
just called
movie.
that one "Meet Me in Las Vegas."
No, I don't know what it was called, but it's probably
Could have
something.
just switched them. That would have been an easy thing. It's so funny. Reinsert point of Amazon has a terrible search engine. For trying to find stuff. I swear I could type in 2 letters into Hulu and it knows exactly what I want. I'm like, did you read my mind? But
Yeah.
like Amazon, no, I could type in 5 words of a title that has 6 words, and it's just like, I don't think I know what you want. I'm like, I think you do. You're just being a jerk.
Well, I think it's more like you really don't want to watch that movie. Here's Meet the Fockers.
Did you know there's a new Meet the Family movie coming your way? Watch this one
Watch
instead.
this one.
I'm like, stop it, Amazon. You think you know what I want? Stop it. Stop listening to me, Alexa, aka Skynet. Before I go too much on a tirade about the machines, Chris, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Meet Me in Las Vegas.
No, pleasure to be here as always.
And thank all of you for listening to all of my tirades about Amazon. I don't want to hurt you, Amazon. Don't hurt me. But thank you all for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and share on this episode. What's your favorite Vegas film? And why is it Steven Soderbergh's Ocean's 11? Or honestly, Casino. That's a pretty great one, too. I'd be kind of surprised if this was your number one. But, show your truth what that is. So comment. And make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPDM Crew Podcasting Network is ever expanding. We have so many great shows with all different types of interests, including movies. Certainly have plenty about that. And if you want to join the crew as a guest on a show specifically like this one, or if you have an idea for your own podcast, email us on our website. And if you like our logo, check out High Flyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.